Well, welcome. Tonight we have the man of the hour, the man of the day, the man of the week. Whenever the snow comes, all of a sudden the highway department becomes the focus of our attention. I think you're like an IT guy. Nobody thinks of you until there's a disaster.
Till the leaves are on the ground or it snows out.
Why don't we start with an introduction?
Scott Crisafulli, Highway Surveyor for the town of Milford.
How long has it been?
Highway Surveyor's been 18 years.
Has it been that long?
Yeah, I've been employed 32 for the town.
No, but I'm trying to think back how far back it was when you were running for highway surveyor.
18 years.
Wow.
Been a long time.
We start off saying, what's the biggest challenge the highway department's running into now?
Besides the everyday stuff we do, stormwater. Stormwater is just a huge, overwhelming, expensive proposition we have to deal with, pretty much.
Now, explain stormwater because, people, I remember, I don't know how many years ago, the fellow came in front of the FinCom talking about how he could fund $60 million stormwater without raising taxes. And then,
It's not 60 million anymore.
well, no, but I mean, even back then, our budget was 70 million for
Yeah.
the town.
Right.
And he's explaining it, and I said, wait a minute. How is this not raising taxes? Well, it's a fee. I said, with all due respect, if I feel your hand going in my pocket and you're taking out money,
Tax.
call it what you want, but it's a tax.
Yeah.
So explain to us what stormwater is all about.
Well, everybody should know what stormwater is. Actually, I'm gonna go a step further because I find with some of the phone calls and complaints I get, residents don't understand the difference between stormwater and sewer.
Sewer.
They think the square thing in the road is called a sewer. That's called a drain. The drainage and the sewers are two different systems. So what I deal with is the stormwater. That's the water going into that drain, goes through the pipes, makes its way directly into a stream, or it makes its way into a detention pond, and then makes its way into the stream. The water that goes down the drain has phosphorus in it. And the main goal of our stormwater permit here in Milford is to not eliminate, but reduce the amount of phosphorus we're putting into the river. Because we're on the Charles River, we have a high amount we have to take out. We're directly on the Charles River. Everybody on the Charles River works under the same permit we do. Surrounding towns that are on the Charles don't have to really comply like we do.
Now, what is the biggest issue with having phosphorus in the water?
Phosphorus will cause algae. Algae will choke out ponds. It'll basically suck all of the oxygen out of a pond, killing all the wildlife. It's not just the phosphorus, but the phosphorus is the biggest. It's any pollutants that we can take out. Any illicit discharges, meaning your sewer system might be connected to the drainage in some parts of town. We had that up to a couple of years ago. We don't find any more at this point. We test every year all different catch basins, manholes, outfalls. That's part of the stormwater compliance. But I think in this town, we pretty much have eliminated a lot.
But now, your toilet, sewerage, doesn't run into the wastewater system.
It runs into the sewer system, not the drainage system.
Not the drainage
Right.
system.
Right.
Because the drainage system, eventually you're putting it into the Charles River or
Right.
pond. There's a straight shot.
Yes.
It's untreated.
Well, that's the point of stormwater, is to treat that water before it gets to the Charles River. When I say treat it, infiltrate it into the ground. Infiltrate it so we take the phosphorus out of it. Your biggest pollutant is your first inch of rainwater. If you're having a storm that's 2 inches, your first inch should be caught in some kind of a system to infiltrate it into the ground.
But now, it's like if I'm coming down Dilla Street, there's a divot.
Yep.
There's a large retention pond. That's part of the stormwater
Yes.
remediation, right?
Yep.
So you sit the water there and let the phosphorus and other things permeate.
Right, so like I said, the first inch of rainfall, I think that one was designed for an inch. So the first inch will go into the ground. Anything over that will go back into the river. They figure after that first inch goes by, the rest of the water's clean. So you want to capture that first inch to get the phosphorus out of it.
Well, I remember when they first started talking about it, there was us and two other towns. There was Bellingham, and there was 3 towns that were the end of the Charles River that they were targeting,
Bellingham, Milford, and Franklin.
Franklin. And they estimated back then that it would be a mere $60 to $80 million to fix the problem. Can't be that anymore.
It's it changes a lot. The rules change. The amount of phosphorus we have to remove changes. This is always happening. Every year there's something, and we're over 100 million now. So the way you have to look at it, it's costing us we need to remove 1,400 pounds of phosphorus. Now phosphorus, you don't see it, so it's a
No.
lot of weight. Think about that. So every year, so we have to have our stormwater system designed to do that within the next 16 years or 15 years now. So that's where the problem is. We have to have everything done. Right now, we have it planned, so we're working on our phosphorus plan, so we have to have that done by this year. Phosphorus removal plan, that DEP wants that, and we have to have it done. So all this is engineering work, designing future stormwater BMPs, and this is where all the money comes from. Then actually implementing them and putting them in and, building them is a
Well,
whole
if I
cost.
remember the year you came with your budget and we asked, why is it jumping? You said part of stormwater is not just building the conduits and all, but the traps had to be cleaned twice a year instead of once a year.
Yeah, so those are our regular maintenances to keep the system clean, picking up the leaves, sweeping the streets, cleaning the catch basins. That's why you'll never see leaf pickup go away. It really can't. That's part of our stormwater compliance right now. So we have to keep doing that.
But the catch basins themselves have to be maintained.
Right, and those are supposed to get cleaned. Right now, it's once a year, but they're pushing to do it twice a year now. So what typically costs us $35,000 a year is now gonna cost us $70,000 a year. So that's just to clean them. Now, the materials that come out of that has to be removed and sent to a landfill,
And those are,
certified landfill. So,
that's that hazmat or?
Yep.
So the sand that we put down, and we'll talk about plowing, that gets washed into the catch basins, now has to be scooped out?
Yep.
And pay a premium to get rid of it?
to haul it away, it's usually $30,000 to $40,000 a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
But you figure you can't burn it.
No, it goes to certified landfills, and the catch basin material is a little dirtier than the street sweeping materials. But it's still gotta be hauled away. Everything gets tested every year, we do all the trucking, it's a big deal.
But do you have a choice? I mean, I remember Ivy Lane when the catch basin collapsed.
Mhm.
That took out a big chunk of Ivy Lane.
Oh, yeah. Big washout.
Because these are just stone-lined catch basins.
Yeah, the older ones are made out of blocks, concrete blocks stacked up in a circle, and I think that particular situation, one of the blocks may have fallen out, and now once the block falls out, it's open earth. And I have all that water pressure coming down Stony Brook Lane, it just blew the whole
Just
thing apart.
blew it out.
Washed it right out instantly, yeah. Yeah, so since then, a few of those have been replaced with precast manholes or catch basins, so they're solid concrete.
So you don't have to worry about the
You hope
washout.
not, you never know, but you hope not. We check them all the time.
So how are we doing on our 1,400 pounds a year removal?
Well, I'll give you some examples. So, just so you can understand why the cost is $100 million, is Dilla Street removes 7 pounds a year.
That big catch basin in there is,
7 pounds. So we're not even close to 1,400. So you take that. There's poundage for cleaning catch basins. There's some more poundage for sweeping. The one we just did at Town Park, the infiltration system is like 26 pounds, which is a lot. That one works out well. And the rain gardens are probably 5 or 6 pounds.
yeah, but that's 30 out of 1,400.
Right? It's about, last calculation I did is about $45,000 a pound. Yeah, not to scare you. That's the estimated cost. So
You know, you fill my nightmares. Because I remember when you came on the show decades ago, and you started quoting me $10,000 an inch to remove every inch of snow.
Yeah.
Now every time the weatherman comes on and says 10 inches something, that's $100,000.
Yeah. It's hard to track now because it's costs are out of control. It used to be, you know what would happen to a truck. It'd be simple stuff. Now we have emissions. Emissions is a whole new animal. It costs us a lot of money to fix. It could cost $10,000 just for a special muffler for a truck when they rot out. So it's very expensive.
Well, we ran into that at the school when the boiler blew, 50-year-old boiler. And you can't go down to Ye-O Boilers or go to Lowe's
No.
and say, can I get these parts?
No.
I mean, you think of the trucks you're running, you can't go down to Kevin Meehan's and say, let me have that special muffler that you're going to sell one every 10 years.
Yep. We've always had a pretty simple maintenance department. Change oils, fix what you can, pull a motor if you can. Anything that we can do, we did. Anything that was a little over us, we'd send it out. But now you have diagnostics. So we actually had to set ourselves up with a whole diagnostic system, computers and everything. Because every truck today has a plug. You gotta plug it in to see what's going on when an engine light goes on. You send it to a dealership, you're talking $500-600 just to plug the truck in. Then they diagnose it, now they're gonna fix it, because it's there, and thousands and thousands of dollars. I don't see repair bills on new trucks for less than $3 or $4 grand every single
Whoa.
time.
So, continuing on stormwater, what's the biggest steps you're taking now? I mean, I've seen the catch basins being cleaned. I've seen the retention ponds. What else can you do?
So, we have a really good relationship with the Charles River Watershed Association, where they're teaming up with us to do projects. They're helping us get grants. The town park was the first one we did with them. It was a state grant, MVP grant. There was money from the power plant in Milford. They matched the grant. Now that's money they give through Charles River because they use the water. So they gave us that money for the grant. So we use that to do the town park project. We have another grant coming up with them to design, pick 3 locations in town, come up with somewhat of a design for 2 out of the 3, and the third we're gonna come up with an 80% design. All those will be in parks. I think it was Pheno Field, we have a big detention pond we're gonna put in there. It's only a thought at this point. We don't know when or how, when we get the money. Tomaso Field and Vernon Field off of Depot Street. So we're gonna gather the information, get what we need, and do 80% design on one of those projects. And then from there, we need to work on more grants to get the money to actually do the project. But like I said, Charles River Watershed has been very, very helpful, very, very good on this. They're right there for anything we need, stormwater. We have a great relationship with them.
But when you start talking about 6 pounds, wow, 30 pounds, it all adds up, but
Not that fast.
1,400 pounds seems like a hell of a, pardon my French, a heck of a leap.
It's huge. And they gave us 20 years to do it, but we're already on year 6 right now.
I was going to say, the problem is you started 20 years ago and it's already gone.
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to get this whole process more public. The public needs to know how this works, because I don't find a lot of people understand it. We are talking about a stormwater utility. That's another addition. Because it's really only our town engineer Liz and me that run the stormwater. It's just an overwhelming thing to take care of. We right now pay consultants to do all the paperwork, do all the testing. It's thousands and thousands of dollars.
Where does this phosphorus come from? Is it our fertilizer? Or?
Yeah, fertilizer. I think it comes from car exhausts. It comes from couple different
Oh,
places.
the car exhausts you're going to have a hard time getting rid of.
Mhm.
But it seems like we're chasing the tail instead of the head of the dog. Why are we allowing phosphorus in the fertilizer? I thought that was going away.
That's banned in Massachusetts.
Oh, okay.
So,
It
yes.
is finally.
Yeah. Not saying people don't bring it in and use it, but it is banned. I mean, there's so many different things we need to look at getting done. I mean, right now, private companies don't really have to do anything besides go through planning and, you know, follow our stormwater rules and what they have to install. But the existing buildings don't really have to do anything yet. So part of having that utility is part of getting that done. Someone to oversee all these private companies. When the time comes, they have to do it. They have to do designs. They have to meet our standards. They have to meet the DEP standards.
But are we telling them up front now what they should be planning, or?
Most companies that have over an acre of non-pervious surface know what they're dealing with. They know. Especially the bigger companies, they know.
See, I
It's
remember
just-
the guy that
just-
came in, he was talking about non-permeable surface, and he's talking about my roof.
Yeah.
As if I have a choice.
Right.
I can't have a permeable roof.
Well, you can. You know how? Your stormwater that comes off your roof runs down your drain into the ground somewhere.
Oh,
That's how
okay.
you do it.
Because I was going to say, if I increase the permeability, I'm not going to be happy if water's coming through my ceiling.
Right. Well, there's ways around it. You don't need a screen on your roof. But all your groundwater, your driveway, that you don't have an acre of driveway, so you probably don't have an acre of non-pervious surface with your roof and your driveway. So most of your stormwater goes in the ground anyways. Some towns have gone as far as to stop the water from coming out of people's driveways. You can't have water come out of your driveway. Yeah.
You remember Highland Street? No, it was Whitewood. It was Whitewood, where a house had the water coming off their driveway, and at the bottom of Whitewood it made a skating rink.
Oh yeah.
I mean, what do you go to somebody and say, don't let that water run anymore?
So it's always a sore subject in town. A lot of people have water problems on their yards and it runs out to the road. If you're gonna make ice in front of your house, you're gonna set yourself up for some liability. You can't do that. We have bylaws against that. In the summertime, I don't care if the water goes in the road. If it's not causing a hazard, it doesn't bother
In the
me.
summertime, you don't
Doesn't
get
bother
ice.
us. Yeah, but in the wintertime, you have to be very
So I remember right at that
cautious of that.
Mill Pond Circle, you'd come down, and as slow as I'd blaze along at 10, 15 miles an hour, I'd hit my brakes and I'd still slide
Mhm.
through.
Yeah, and a lot of that down, it's all groundwater. There's no way of stopping it. We have a very, very high groundwater in this town, especially certain parts. Up at that end, up where I live on Harding Street, it's right up at the top. You hit the ground, there's water. It's very difficult to deal with. That's one of the things that certain parts of the country have to, well, not certain, the whole country has to deal with stormwater. But some parts of the country are much easier to deal with because they don't have the high groundwater. They don't have ledge under the ground. They don't have those things, which is, the Northeast is very, very different situation than most of the country.
Quick topic, the mythical bridge. You came in front of the Finance Committee talking about a bridge that a large percentage of Milfordians, I would say they don't even know exists.
Most people don't know it's a bridge here. It's very small.
Because I remember when you talked about the brook under Main Street, and everybody was looking, saying, we're spending how much on a brook that doesn't exist?
Mhm.
Talk to me about the Central Street Bridge.
So the Central Street Bridge was built in 1929. We have bridge inspections done every 2 years for all our bridges. Anything that's registered with the DOT gets inspected every 2 years.
Those are healthy bridges.
Yes, all bridges. But they picked up on the one on Central Street. It actually, for some reason, didn't get inspected for the longest time, and then they figured that out and they came in and inspected it. So it's pretty much failed, not to the point where they're afraid of it collapsing. It's just that it should be replaced before it does get really bad, and it is getting bad. You have granite walls, stacked granite. You have granite posts in the middle of it, holding the road up. There's actual granite posts running down the middle. Everything's undermined. I don't even know how it stays up. There's something holding the whole bridge up. I don't know what. Maybe it's the land on both
But
sides.
again, if somebody was to look at Central Street, where's the bridge? Is it right next to your barn or?
So, yeah, right behind our building, right where you gotta see the river, right where it runs through. It's right
Because I
there.
don't think people, you think of Pheno Field. Behind it is the brook, the river, whatever you want
Yeah.
to call it. And that has to go somewhere. So that goes down, and then it almost feels more like a tunnel than a bridge.
It's not that big. It's just about 6 feet tall and probably 8 feet wide. It's not big.
It's big enough to take all that water.
Well, before my time, even working at the highway department, there was a bypass put in right behind our building, and it goes also under Central Street, runs down Archer Ave, and then cuts back into the Charles River. It's a huge bypass. It was made to take the water out from underneath Archer Rubber because it used to run right under the building. So, and there was a time when most of the water actually went through the bypass, but for some reason, since they took the building down and whatever happened, the water's running down the Charles River now, not the bypass. So it kind of put us more alert with that bridge. So now we are on a 2-month
Two-
cycle.
Isn't that like the worst or the?
Yeah, that's like they're really worried about it. Something moving, something happening, where they're gonna have to shut it down.
To me, when they downgrade you to 2-month inspection, they're really trying to get your attention
Yes.
to say you best be fixing this.
So when that happened, we applied for what they call a small bridge grant with Mass DOT. Any bridge under 20 feet wide is considered a small bridge. So we got the grant 4 years ago now, and most of the grant money gets eaten up by engineering and redesigning and all the work they had to do for that, permitting and all that. So we also raised 1.5 million to actually do construction, because that was the engineer's estimate was like 1.2 million. So we had 300,000, in reserve in case we needed it. The problem is, since we got that grant, the design has changed, and Mass DOT has changed it on us. They've asked us to do different things, and it's just been a constant battle trying to finalize the design.
So initially, a few years ago, we thought 1.3 million, so we put away 1.5 just to be safe.
And we had a couple million left from the grant too, so.
So we were set. Now they've changed the requirements. By changing the requirements, the design changes. Where are we today?
So last October, we finally had a chance. We got there, design's done, finalized, approved by DOT, put it out to bid. And the bids were all 2.9 million. Right in there, 2.9 to 2.93. They're all right in that groove.
So we've got 1.7 tucked away, and now it's going to be 3 billion.
Well, we have 1.7, we have 1.7 left from the original.
From the original.
Yes,
So we're 1.3 million short.
yes. Now, what we did is, we couldn't award it, obviously, we don't have the money, so we talked to the bidders, the 3 highest bidders, and, 3 lowest bidders, I should say. And, why did you bid so high? What is the reasoning? The main reason was, our design was to keep the road open, 1 lane, and work on the bridge, 1 half. And then when that half's done, open that side of the road, and I guess the companies don't wanna do that. It makes their job longer, tougher to deal with. They have to deal with the traffic, detail cops the whole time. So that added hundreds of thousands of dollars onto the bid. So that was one thing we found. That we still gotta figure out if it's worth shutting the bridge down for 2 months, letting them work 7 days a week to get it done as quick as possible. So that's what we're gonna consider for the next bid. Now, this is a conversation I'm gonna have to have with the police chief and selectmen and everybody else, because that's a big deal, shutting that road down.
Yeah, well, Robbie, when he came on the show, we talked about it, and he says he's got to look into it.
Yeah.
But I didn't see him going to convulsions over shutting down Central Street.
I think if the timing's right, middle of summer, July, August, I think we'll be okay. It'll hurt for a little while with the traffic on Main Street, but that's the least traffic time of the year. It's vacation time. But we want to stay within that 2-month period, so we got to make sure that we can get it done. So that's one thing we got to look at, and we're going to look at also water control. I don't know if you've ever seen that river. If we have a decent storm like we've had the last couple ones, that river goes right to the top.
It goes to a river.
It goes to the top. It's scary. It's a foot from going over. So, and it'll do that for 24 hours, and then it's back down to the bottom, and you can see the bottom again. But they're worried, how do we stop all that water?
Where does it go?
Well, they can make it go down the bypass, but that's a big deal, trying to stop that much water. It really is. So we have to do a little more design work on that. We have to come up with a plan. We can't leave it up to the contractors to figure it out. We need to do it.
No, they'll do what you tell them.
Right. So if we come up with a plan that we think will work, then they can do that, and then then we see that helping the price also. They going in there not knowing what they're going to be dealing with as far as water control is difficult for them to give us a price if they don't know. So they give you the top price.
Yeah, well, I would imagine going in there saying you're going to work on one lane at a time, and we don't know what traffic will really be or
Right.
how much impact that'll have on your ability to bring trucks and equipment in. I can see them bidding high.
It's the unknowns. There was too many unknowns in it. Whether the engineers that we had, the consultant, didn't feel obligated to do that, I don't know. Maybe they're trying to save us money, but they should have come in a little more specific on items.
Yeah, but if I'm bidding, I'm not going to take a chance because once I put that bid, you mentioned you couldn't award the contract. A lot of people don't understand that until you have the money, you can't even go out really to bid.
No.
If you think it's going to be $3 million, we couldn't say, yeah, we'll go get the rest of the money from town meeting.
Well, we don't know that. That's
the problem. The town
guarantee.
meeting may say no.
It's like, yeah, well, you know what, we're going to get a loan now and see if we can pay for it. You can't take that chance. That would be illegal. You can't do that.
By law, you can't.
Right.
So you had to reject all the bids and start again.
So we really rely on our consultants' estimates to know what we need for money. It's always the way it's been. It's just that in today's world, with the cost of certain items, concrete's huge. Concrete's anywhere from $125 to $150 a yard. That's crazy. I can remember it was $50 a yard.
Well, shutting down Central Street for 60 days seems like annoying, but if it saves hundreds of thousands of dollars, it's something you got to consider.
Yeah, I've come to that conclusion. At first, we were like, no, absolutely
You're not going to disrupt anybody's business, right?
No, we shouldn't. In fact, that's not a truck route, so trucks go.
Well, not supposed to be.
Right, and there's barely any trucks there. There are some; they sneak by.
I mean, some of the Amazon sneak through, but
it's just the amount of traffic that goes down there. You'd be surprised. So you're talking people coming from that end of town going to the other side of town.
Yeah, the thing that I worry about is places like Express, Sorrento Room. You don't want to hurt their business.
Right.
But the way you're describing it seems like it's far enough down.
Yeah.
That if I want to go have dinner or take my kid to the Express studio, I can still do that.
Yeah, just take the next street. I don't think people are going that way to go to that intersection you're talking about. They come out of Depot, everybody takes a right in the morning, and go in the afternoon, everybody takes a left on Depot. So it's just a cut through commuter traffic. Like I said, it'll be tough, but to do it this time of the year with school in session and all that, that's a whole nother stack of cars.
Well, you wouldn't do it this time of year anyway with snow and nasty.
Well, even early spring, I wouldn't want to really do that.
No, the summer seems like the best option.
Yeah, definitely. So we got to get a move on. We got to be ready to put it out to bid the next day if we raise that money.
I was going to say, plus, you can't move till town meeting in May says go.
Right.
I mean, I can't imagine that we're going to wait till Central Street is at a point where it has to be closed.
Now that's a whole nother animal. Then it's permanently closed until
Yeah.
you do otherwise, and we'll lose the grant by then, so.
And not even lose the grant, you lose a year.
Yeah.
Or at least minimum, well, no. If you don't move on it at the annual town meeting in May, it would be hard in my mind to move on it after October, November.
Mhm.
Because now you're in the middle of winter and the schools and everything. So you'd have Central Street closed for a year.
I mean, that affects us in the wintertime. We have trucks that go out that way to go to that end of town.
They'd
If
have
we
to
had
make
to
a
go
big,
uptown and go all the way through, it makes a big deal. Big difference. It's hard, without trucks with snow plows and all that on it, maneuvering up North Bow is hard with all the parking.
now we had another wonderful surprise with the brook, right?
Yeah, yeah, similar situation. It's, the old designs, we get, well, I'll start from the beginning. So we got another grant to do, a section of the Godfrey Brook from West Street all the way to Water Street. Some of that's been done, the sections we don't need to do, but this is gonna be complete now. 'Cause
Well, decades ago, we talked about what would it cost just to do the brook? And it was
I
like,
think it was like $1 million, wasn't it?
well, but I mean, the whole Magilla was somewhere around 20
It
million
was it?
back then. Yeah,
It was
because
before my time.
we talked about it and then we said, well, okay, what's the downside? Well, if we start allocating that money and we're fixing sections, the odds on us getting grants to fix what we already fixed was slim to none.
Mhm.
So we made a decision that if there was emergency work, we would fund it. Like West Street, where that poor man's house was 2 feet away from being washed out.
Yep.
But that we would move as we needed to and as it became opportunistic that we got grants. So now you're talking West Street to Water Street by the old, I guess you call it the phone company,
Verizon.
Verizon.
So in my 18 years as the highway surveyor, I haven't, besides the matches for grants, we have not spent any money on a brook besides FEMA funding. So everything we've done has come from FEMA. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 culverts in small sections of the brook have been done. We're getting there, believe it or not. I think after this section, I think that's it. For the Godfrey Brook. Then we gotta jump up to the O'Brien Brook, the next one. We have issues there. We haven't even touched that one yet.
But a lot of that is already collapsing in.
Well, that's the problem with the Godfrey, in the section we're doing, it's, you've seen the Godfrey Brook run in the rain, it overflows. And the sections are only 2, 3 feet deep. So with the project, they're gonna have higher walls, you're gonna have 6-foot walls, wider brook, and it's gonna hold the water in rather than letting it flow all over.
But they've also got to be cast. I mean,
Yeah, it's a
100
combination of
years ago when they did this,
combination
it
of
was
cast.
rocks and
Yeah.
soil.
Yep.
So it's only a matter of time, 80 years, before the dirt flows out and then the rocks start collapsing in.
Well, that's pretty much what's happened. There's sections that you can't tell there was ever stone walls, they're just washed in.
Now, technically, who owns the brook?
Most of it is owned by the residents that live on it.
And that was a discussion we had years ago when we did the West Street to Water Street, that
Mhm.
we had a resident complaining of the way they wanted the brook to be built.
Yeah.
And we said, wait a minute, you own the brook. What you do with your money is up to you. But if you want the town to do it,
Yeah.
we're going to do it the way we feel is the best.
Right, and with the reconstruction comes easements, the town will own the brook at that point. We have to, that's a FEMA
But
rule.
essentially, we own it anyway, because you're not going to go to somebody who has the house and say, oh, Scotty,
Right.
by the way, we need $80,000 to fix your little section.
Yeah, well, we use the brook, our drainage is tied into the brook, so we have to maintain the brook. That's the thought.
Yeah, what I'm saying
but-
is,
But
it's,
there's a fine line going on private property to maintain something that's not yours. You gotta be careful.
well, I remember we got into the discussion where it said, if you fight us and don't give us the easement to do it, then it's yours.
Yep.
But realistically, I know I always get in trouble for this, I care less about what's legal than what's right.
Mhm.
Milford's always taken care of its homeowners and its residents.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I can't imagine that people have a spare 100, 200 grand laying around to fix the edge of their property. So you'd really hurt people if you tried getting them to pay for it.
And it doesn't help us because, like I said, our drainage is tied into that. If our drainage isn't working, then we're gonna have problems too, so. And it just keeps the domino effect, goes upriver, goes to the left of the river, it just keeps spreading out.
Well, I
so.
mean, you do the culvert, and all that does is push the pressure back on the part of the walls that are still rocks and dirt.
Mhm.
And eventually when that collapses,
And we do have residents in the lower end of the brook that get flooded, their basements get flooded because of the brook. And I think we have an obligation to try to stop that if we can. I mean, that's not right.
but again, you're using the correct words, it's not right.
Right.
Whether it's legally our responsibility or not, these are Milford residents, you gotta take care of them.
Absolutely,
So
agree.
how much is this wonderful little addition gonna cost us?
So, $922,000 was the original estimate, that's the grant we went for, $922,000. Out of that 922, the town was responsible for 25%. We have a Godfrey Brook fund from another project that we were using for the 200 and something thousand that we needed. But, again, there's been a
Costs.
lot of changes, FEMA changed some stuff, the conservation rules and regulations have changed. So the price has gone up since that original estimate. Don't know how much yet, and we're still working on that. I've advised my consultants to get as close as you can, and don't go under, because we need to know. But it's something we still may be able to take out of that fund we have. Don't know. We have to see what the numbers are first.
Well, at the end of the day, you know I'm the cheapest guy on the FinCom, but something like this, you don't really have a choice, do you?
No, I mean, you don't want to give up the grant.
You know, but you have to fix it. It was like when we discussed Main Street.
Mhm.
If we didn't fix it, we would have lost Main Street. You can't have a rational alternative to Main Street.
Right.
So as much as it hurt, we came up with the money, and now we've forgotten about it, which is the right thing for us.
Yeah. You know, I love doing grants. I love getting the grants. I love all that. But I think going forward with some of these grants that I can get, we really need to know how deep the town is going to get into it. Because sometimes you can't accept a grant for something if we can't afford to get the money. I mean,
Well, I think the thing is, you get a $500,000 grant. Yay, you're excited.
Mhm.
The first 200 goes to engineering. And then the rules that come with the 300, maybe that we could have done the whole thing for 300 if we
Right.
didn't have to follow the FEMA guidelines.
right. Yeah, I mean, they get into historic aspects of it. Like those walls are historic. So what do we have to do to keep that historic look? And all these different things we have to deal with, and that adds price. The first section we did on Church Street, the top of the concrete walls are stone wall. We cemented rocks on top because they wanted that historic look. I mean, to me, it's just it's a brook, it's a waste. We just need the water to stay in the brook. But that's the rules
I
we
was
have
going
to
to
work
say, wait a
under.
minute. I want the appearance of this bridge tunnel to be like the original.
Mhm.
How many people are going to go down into the tunnel and look and say, oh, look at these walls?
Yeah.
I mean, number one has to be
Yeah.
not the form, but the function.
So we're running into an issue on the one we're doing, and this is part of the price thing, is the substrate, the bottom of the river, called substrate. It's gonna be concrete. It's not gonna be natural ground. It's not gonna be stones. So they had to come up with a design that everybody was happy with for permitting. So we have to actually have fake stones put in. So these are the things that cost money. You know, we've done, every time we do it, it's a different rule.
I bet if I was to ask the owner of the home where it was 1.5 feet of dirt before it washed away, if he was more worried about saving his house or the bottom of the brook, what it looks like.
Well, they do that to save the wildlife, basically. The frogs have to live in there, the fish have to live in there. They need, places to hide. That's the reasoning for it. Like I said, we've done other things. We've done angle irons to hold back some of the stone, natural stone that's coming down. You know, we've done all kinds of stuff. Every time we do it's different. They change the rule. So,
Snow's coming. Last year we had a wonderful year. Like I say, you've given me nightmares from decades ago when you put in perspective that it was back then $10,000 an inch to remove snow in Milford. So every time the weatherman would come on and say, we're getting 8 inches, I'm saying, oh, there's 80 grand gone. What is it now?
well, put it this way: we're at about 23 inches. Believe it or not, we're right on target for an average winter. And we're probably pretty close to being out of money.
We budget 500,000,
600.
600 now. I think people, again, don't understand why we don't make it 1 million, because we're in snowy years, like right now, there's not a chance you're going to be on budget.
No, we won't be.
I mean, we're in the middle of January, and you've already used up most of your money.
Yep.
But people don't understand that we have to break even on our budget by law. We have to have a balanced budget. The only exception is you, snow and ice, because they put in a rule that said you can't reduce it. So we started at 250, back when Paul Revere was pulling his plow. It went to 500, now to 600. We can never go back down.
No.
So we budgeted at 600, knowing in, like last year, we did well. We got money back. This year, we're going to have to supplement it.
It's going that way, yes. I'm getting another storm coming Friday night, so, yeah, it's just, I get it, and I understand we can overspend it. I think the only reason to raise it is to understand that the money we have, there's never enough anymore. Then you have to raise it a little, because I hate going to town meeting and listen to, well, the snow budget's $1 million, and we only had 600, we gotta compensate for that. I hate that, as someone who pays the bills.
But on the other hand, Scotty, if last year we budgeted $1 million, now we're taking too much money out of people's pockets.
Exactly, so it eventually will happen that we know the 600 is not gonna cut it, but maybe it does.
Well, just like when we had it at 250.
Mhm.
After a while, we finally said it'll never go that low, even on a good year. Let's go to 500.
Yeah, and everything raises it. Fuel prices are higher than they've been. Salt's up again. Repair maintenance. That's the biggest expense. It's never ending. It really isn't. And you don't just buy a plow blade for $100 now. They're $300. You know, we actually buy plow blades that'll last. Well, the way it's been snowing, they've been lasting 5 years, one blade, but they're $3,000. They last because they're carbide, they're not cheap.
How many
blades.
pieces of equipment do we have town-owned pushing snow?
So we use all the Parks equipment, so I think they have 5 trucks. We use the cemetery truck, they have 1. And we have 11 big trucks, couple, 3, 4, 5 pickups and 1-tons. 4 sidewalk tractors, 3 front end loaders, backhoe. That's about it. And we use the sewer department brings their loader over. We originally set up with the water company to run 3 vehicles, but they're not doing it for whatever reason. So we get 1 if the guy's available, which I tried to explain to them at the beginning. This is a huge help, you know. It's easier for us to pay a guy's salary than hire an outside contractor. It's way cheaper, but we're not there yet. So, what do we have? 30 pieces, 32 pieces.
And how many employees?
So, yeah, 15 drivers or operators at the highway. You got 6 at the parks, and 2 at the cemetery.
So you're able to use the parks and the cemetery employees?
Yeah, 100%. Yep. Which is huge, huge. My goal and my vision, hopefully it can happen before I retire someday, is to be self-contained. We do not have to hire contractors. You can't pay contractors enough anymore. They won't do it. They don't want to work. They do not want to plow snow. So to get them, you got to entice them. This town's paying sign-on bonuses $2,000. a truck
To do, before they do anything.
before they do anything, because they can't get anybody. We've been lucky. I do have a sign-off bonus, but my sign-off bonus comes with perfect attendance. You show up for every storm, you know, you go above and beyond what we need. We need you to stay long, you stay.
So it's a performance bonus.
That's what I do, and it's $1,000.
Well, but still, it's a performance bonus.
Think about this. There's 52 pieces of equipment. That's 52,000 right off the top. See what I'm saying? This is what it's come to. During COVID, forget it. We got lucky because we didn't have a lot of snow.
Well,
I don't have 10 contractors to work.
You've brought up a number of times that maintenance is the bane of your existence because it keeps going up.
Mhm.
I can't imagine if I got a pick-me-up truck and I put a plow on it. I'm hitting things all the time on the
Break
on
your
the
truck.
road. It's got to put some damage onto the plow, onto the transmission.
It's 90% of it's up to the operator, but some people aren't good at it. You know, if you don't want to hurt your truck, you don't have to. We don't rush you. We want you to work. We don't want you to break down. So we just we give them time limits, but just don't break your truck. Go easy. Get the roads clean. And go
But
from there.
even going easy, doing it right,
It can happen.
is wear and tear just in general.
Oh, yeah, it's not good for a truck. Absolutely not. Especially the new trucks and all the computer systems. It doesn't take much to shut them down, basically. So we used to have like 67, 68 contractors. And every time I buy a piece of equipment, we try to add an extra plow or do what we can to reduce the outside contractors. And it's working. We're getting less and less, but the price of the contractors goes up. A guy with a pickup truck, when I started 18 years ago, got $56 an hour. The same guy today gets $100 an hour. Otherwise, they're not going to work. They're just not going to do it.
Just not worth it to
And
them.
we're not the highest paying. Our towns around us pay a lot more than that. So for us to try to keep our people is hard. Every year, it's a challenge. We get lucky, but it's a challenge.
So any idea what it costs us per inch to get rid of?
Well, we're at 23 inches. We've probably spent $450,000.
So,
It's almost 20,000 an inch, a little more.
wow.
It's not even worth measuring like that anymore. You just can't.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, but you've taken steps like, I remember years ago people would complain the guy plowing my street isn't plowing. And we had no way of knowing except you getting in a truck going up there and looking.
Yep.
Didn't you put in a monitoring system?
yeah, all our outside contractors have GPS units. We can track them. We know where they are. If we get a call, your street hasn't been getting plowed, you call me. I can actually tell you exactly when it was plowed,
Yeah.
how many times it was plowed, or if it wasn't plowed. I can tell you that.
Because you had said 99%. You're never going to get perfect performance from everybody.
No.
But you can tell who wasn't doing their job and replace them.
Replace them with who is the
Well,
question.
yeah, the problem is you got to have somebody to replace them with.
Honestly, I mean, we go through this every year. We have real good guys, and we have guys that are okay, and then we have guys that really aren't that great. And every year, like, well, I don't know if we want to bring this guy back, but what choice do I have? Something is better than nothing. You know what I mean? That's where we're at.
If I don't bring back some of the marginal people, then I don't have anybody to plow, so now I got to go half as many streets each time.
Yeah. So, what we just bought that new loader a couple years ago, $350,000. Well, that used to be $200,000.
I remember it was in the budget at 225.
Yeah, it was at $350 when we finally bought it. Again, that's the cost. But we set that up so that particular loader eliminated 4 contractors. It can do the work of 4 contractors with one guy driving it at their regular
Well,
rates.
there's certain things you do. I remember when I first came back to Milford, I was one of the people who you didn't like because I would drive into the salt barn saying, "That's my salt. I need some." And then you started dumping some mix outside the fence. And last night I went and it's got that nice trough. You even left a shovel there, which was nice. But residents of Milford, well, they're paying for the dirt salt mix.
It wasn't that we didn't want to give it to Al. I just didn't want to see you get run over by a
Well,
flatbed
I
or something.
understood the safety issue of these monstrous trucks
Yeah, they don't.
zipping along, so they'd have to slow down, which now makes it longer for
Well,
you.
Do you want to be in the middle of that yard with trucks pulling
No.
in, loaders loading, and these guys haven't slept for
I
24
just want
hours?
my dirt.
Yeah, so we took it away from there.
But I mean, something like that, God bless you, it really does make a difference. Because if people with long driveways, you can go to Lowe's and Home Depot and buy the bag for
Mhm.
$5 and go out and sprinkle a little bit of
Yeah.
salt.
Yeah, some people like the straight salt, and if you come there during the day when we're not in there working or doing anything, you can go just take the salt, that's fine. But
No, but I said salt, and then you explained to me that you're better off with the mix because the salt's going to
Traction.
eat right through and it's going to refreeze.
it
Now
goes.
with the mix, I actually get, I call it dirt, but I get the gravel or whatever,
Sand.
sand. Another popular thing that y'all have done is the leaf pickup. Now I know it's part of stormwater and all that good stuff, but that seems to be one of the most popular programs in town.
It is. It is. It's really, we're working, the last couple of years have been really good, and we've picked up more leaves each year. Every year it increases. I guess trees grow more leaves, apparently.
Or more people participate.
Well, yeah, I'm not sure, but it's really, really worked out well. We have those two newer machines. Well, I shouldn't say new, they're getting old now, but they are working out really well. We bought a third machine we're setting up now.
But
So-
you've made some major changes because back when you started, we were using catch basin scooper outers.
Yeah.
And that took 2 people?
Yeah, it was a two-man operation. It's really a vacuum truck that's made to suck the debris out of a catch basin. We redesigned a little bit of the vacuum itself to vacuum leaves, but it was just very slow. It was just, it was twice as slow as, well, took double the time it takes now to pick up the leaves. As long as our trucks stay running and they don't break down, it's beautiful. We
Well,
blow right
wasn't that
through.
the idea when you bought the new truck that you were keeping the
We
third
still have
truck
one
for
of 'em.
backup?
We still have that one. We didn't use it this year, first time ever. So now we're getting that third truck. Now we can let that truck go. Whether we build that truck into something else or we just auction it off. We'll get
No,
it.
but I think the point that you got our support and the FinCom was if the truck goes down for 2 weeks in the middle of the 5-week leaf picking up, you're in deep sneakers.
Yes, we don't have one truck. Wouldn't be able to do it. The phone would be ringing, as we say.
And people watch. I'll
Yep.
never forget my mother, God rest her soul, coming in saying, "You call that Scotty guy. They came too early. I don't have all my leaves out there."
That's not gonna happen if we get a third truck going.
Well, but the thing was, I had to explain to her, saying, "Mom, they're still coming next week. They just got ahead."
Well, we're gonna change the whole system when we get the new truck, so it's gonna be by the day. So you're not gonna be a week, you're gonna be a day. So let's say your route is every Monday, the whole leaf season, we're gonna pick up your leaves. And
Oh,
every
wow.
Tuesday, we'll go to the next route, and every Thursday, we go to the next route. We'll still jump ahead and move around as we need to, but
Well, I think as
You'll
long
be-
as people understand that, like this year, you told me in the paper that November 16th was my week.
Mhm.
If you came before the 16th, you'd still make sure you came by the week of the 16th.
Yep.
And because it's always fun when you're week number 1. I pick up my 2 leaves, I walk them down to the driveway and put them down.
and then we don't even stop, because there's only two, we drive right by. Well, yeah, because you have to have a starting point, you have to have an ending point. Unfortunately, you get into December, you know what can happen.
Well, yeah,
And
I've
that
had the
has
year
happened.
where all of a sudden the snow comes and it's like, no.
Yeah, I mean, it's happened, it's
But
a nightmare.
eventually you got to move them because otherwise they'll wash into the catch
Yes,
basins.
yeah. I think the new, if we try it the new way, I think it'll work out even quicker. I think we can get it done in 4 weeks. So then we can condense it a little more, you know what I mean? A lot of people use the leaf dump too, though. It gets pretty full, so they don't wanna wait, you know, they just assume bring their leaves and dump them.
God
for a
bless
ride.
them.
A lot of people doing it.
I got a 200-foot run, about 4 foot tall. I can't imagine how many bags I would have to
Yeah.
transport.
Well, I know my father does, he does it every week. Every weekend he picks the leaves up, so he keeps up with it. you
Oh,
know?
okay. Another favorite topic. How many streets are you repaving this year?
So we actually just got some more money. So we got, our typical chapter 90 allotment's about 825,000. They just released another 100 million, so we'll get another 380,000.
But that 800, we always kicked in an extra 500,000 on top of that.
Right, which I think we need to kick in more, and we'll talk about that at one of our meetings. But we do, it's time, and I know it's money.
No, but I mean, it's the concept was the 800 was a good start, but
Mhm.
you never got, it sounds terrible when I say you never got enough done.
Yeah.
You didn't have the money to do enough streets to keep up.
It's, the last couple of years, we've been doing a lot of the main lines, and they're extremely expensive. I mean, Highland Street,
Well, when you
Purchase
tell me
Street,
you're gonna do Congress Street, and you say how many feet of Congress Street, and what does
Yeah.
that leave for the small streets?
Nothing.
Nothing.
nothing, no.
I remember
And-
when a resident brought up the fact that we should have sidewalks on both sides of Purchase Street.
Yeah.
And then it was like, yeah, well, that's $2 million.
Yeah, or it's our whole budget, $1,300,000. So this year, everybody's gonna love this, West Street. West Street's gonna get done this year, finally, because the gas company has finally completed their project.
Yeah, and I think that's what people don't understand is the worst thing in the world is to see that you finish the road and then have the water company, the gas
Every
company rip it up.
I know, it's every time, and it's because there's an emergency break,
Yeah.
emergency leak, whatever. We do have a 2-year moratorium in this town, which I'd like to see 5. It's actually 2 years on our bylaws. 5 would be nice. Whether we change or not, I don't know. I've, for the most part, been able to hold people off for 5 years. But, you know, you have new construction, you have a new building going in, you have a
Yeah.
new house going in, you're gonna tell the people you can't hook up for another 2 more years. I keep it within the 2 years, for sure, but not, 5 is sometimes difficult.
Well, we appreciate the update. When you come in with your other hat on parks, then I'll ask you as to what's going on with Tank Field. All of a sudden, I go up there with my grandson to park, and I thought we were going to get more parking out of owning it, but we'll
Yeah.
leave that for that
Yep.
discussion to happen. But it just stunned me to sit there and say, we own this place now. Why are we getting less parking? But we'll wait for that story next time.
Yeah,
Thank you for everything you do. Good luck with the third
Thank you.
storm in a week.
thank you.
And as always, if you have questions, reach out to the highway department. Because years ago, the questions came up that my street isn't getting plowed. The highway department responded with the GPS system, because now they can turn around and say, let's check it. Yes, it was plowed, they just can't keep up right now. So a lot of the questions that you have normally can be answered. You know, the old saying, 2 reasonable people equally informed seldom disagree. The key is to be equally informed. And since you're paying the salaries of all the town employees, you have the right to be equally informed.
Sure.
So thank you to our 6 loyal viewers. May God bless. May tomorrow be a safer night than tonight, and no snow. Good night, all.